All right, JT, it's time for my favorite segment of the week each and every week. It's the Best Bet Gauntlet, and we are joined today in our last Best Bet Gauntlet segment of the year by a guy that I've been wanting to have on for a while now. It's Allan Bell from CBS Sports. You can find him everywhere, man. The Early Edge, Sportsline Picks, CBS Sports HQ, the College Football Weekly Best Bets show. Allan, it is so good to have you, man. How are you?
Man, I'm fantastic. Look, man, I'll tell you what, back at you, right? Like I've been wanting to do this. So like glad that we could do it like right here at the end too with the biggest game. Absolutely, man.
So we're talking Super Bowl, and you know as well as we do, I'd love to get your thoughts on this. Man, it's like the circle of life with betting in the NFL. Week 1 is like a minefield of sharp lines everywhere. And then you get to the end of the year in the Super Bowl, it's tough to bet.
Yeah. It definitely is. Look, I would say, like, once the NFL playoffs get here, it tightens up, right? Not only because you start to see, I mean, look at, the divisional round and championship round. 6 games, all 6 hit the under, right? Yep. So that's just the total. But then when you look at games that hit unders, right? Prop bets hit unders, right? Like, you start to see it. So, not only that, like, games get tougher, but also the sports books. I mean, the NFL is the number one, right? So if any sports book has 100 people working in a room in the back room, 95 of them are on the NFL, right? So you're going to get just the sharpest, most, market correct lines possible.
Yeah. And that's why you see any professional bettors that wade into NFL waters, they tend to go college basketball the second the playoffs get here. And that's why they make the money. And so that's the way that works. But the Super Bowl in particular, 27-2 all time, any Super Bowl, the favorites and the underdog, it's evenly matched historically. And this game in particular, man, I don't know if you feel the same way. These two teams make for a really fascinating matchup, a really even matchup. And there's so many questions in terms of a side. Do you have a lean here this week?
Yeah, look, I do, but let me hit on your point real quick of what you said of how accurate that you are of how close these two teams. All right, the Chiefs this season, regular season, they led the AFC in points per game, 29.1. Eagles led the NFC points per game, 28.1. Add in both teams' regular season games, playoff games, they've each scored 546 points exactly.
Exactly.
That's how tight. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like,
here, that's how tight. Crazy.
It's crazy, right? Like, that's how tight that it is. And then the Eagles, you have, a team with the most rushing touchdowns against the Chiefs, the team with the most passing touchdowns. Like, these two teams can get down. And the even more difficult part is that they have multiple running backs, multiple wide receivers, multiple tight ends. Like, it's tough. So, all that being said, look, I like the Eagles in this game. I think that they're the better team. I think that they're definitely the more healthy team. I think that, I think they have the better offense. I think they have the better offensive line. I think that they have the better skill position players, right? Like total. But it's going to be a tight game, right? So, yeah, like I'm rolling with the Eagles money line. Like, it's 1.5. Why mess around with it, right? Yep. Like in a low scoring could be game, just take the money line. The team that you want to win, take them to win. So, yeah, sidewise, I roll Eagles.
Love it, Allan. Love it. So here's what we're going to do. We've got, anybody that listens to the show knows, throughout the playoffs, we've changed our format. So I didn't even mention this to you, but what we've been doing, we call it the Best Bet Gauntlet because during the year, we each go snake draft style, our favorite side of the week. We each give 5, and it's a competition. Last year, JT edged me out. This year, I led wire to wire. But on the year, we are 114, 94, and 9. Good for 55%. Just to make a pro better like you proud. Got to brag a little. We did well.
As you should. That is strong. That is very strong. Yeah, well done on that.
And then in the playoffs here, we've been finishing strong. We're 13-6 so far. Good for 68%. So we're going to try to keep that rolling here. We've got 6 picks for the Super Bowl. We want to get your input on them as we go. We're going to explain why we like these sides, totals, and a lot of props as well. You give us your thoughts, and then once we give our 6, I want to hear any and everything that you love for this game. Sound good?
Yep, absolutely.
All right, perfect. So we'll get into the Best Bet Gauntlet here with our first pick in the Super Bowl edition of the Best Bet Gauntlet Pick 6. We're going with the total here, and I really like the over in this game. Now, I know historically Super Bowls, the over tends to be the trap for the squares, man, because everybody wants to see a big, high-scoring game. I get it. And typically the under is the sharp side. But in this game, these are two teams whose defenses, I think, have been a little bit inflated in terms of their perception based on who they've had to face recently. And I think the offensive firepower that both of these teams are going to bring, it's going to be a challenge that neither of these defenses have seen really, especially the Eagles for that matter, in a while. And I think it could make for a pretty explosive game, barring the injuries to both quarterbacks being a bigger deal than we think they're going to be. I think this thing goes over 51, so I'm taking the over.
I like it. This I jump in?
Yeah, you got thoughts. What, you got a thought on the total?
Yeah, well, I didn't want to mess with you guys. Look, I don't disagree with you at all. Like, I think that obviously these are two best offensive teams in the NFL, and I think what you're going to get is you're going to get both sides pushing each other. All right, so take a look at the Eagles. The Eagles haven't had to play or take seriously a second half of a game in a month. Right?
It's crazy. It's crazy.
It's crazy, and that's how fast and efficient that they are. Honestly, Nick Sirianni and
what
Josh
quarterbacks
Heupel,
have they seen in the last month? Right, a bye, Danny Dimes twice, and the fourth stringer for the Niners. Like that's been their entire month.
Yeah, the game was over at halftime in all of them. Like, in the second half, they were playing the clock and not playing the other team, right? So Nick Sirianni and the Eagles, they have a lot of Josh Heupel and Tennessee in them, in the fact that it's up-tempo offense, it's fast-paced. They use it to put your defense on its heels. They can hit big plays all over the board. Quez Watkins, A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, right? Like, they're tough to deal with. And I'll say this. So I think that's the combination that you want to push the Chiefs, because the Chiefs aren't necessarily a fast-paced, big play offense anymore of what they were 2-3 years ago. Yeah, it's very, 10, 11, 12 play drives, methodical, run the football, right? But if you're down, you can't do that. Like, you got to
Eagles push the tempo, they're going to have to.
100%. So, and look, I'll get into this in a minute on one of mine, but I love that because the Eagles, in 19 games this year, 16 of those games, the Eagles have scored 14 points or more in the first half. Like, that's their MO. The same thing the 49ers were doing. We are immediately going to score a touchdown, and good luck. Like, so, yeah, like, I like it, not to get long-winded, but, yeah, man, like, I like the pace to be pushed fast, which leads to overs. Yeah.
All right, JT, what's our next pick?
Yeah, let's get over here to our second pick in the Super Bowl, pick 6. We're going to move over to some props here, and let's go with Jalen Hurts over 10.5 rushing attempts. In his last 3, he's gone 9, 9, and 11, so all pretty much close to blowouts, by the way, 2 against the Giants, and, of course, the 1 against the 49ers. But before he was injured with that shoulder, he cleared in almost half of his games, 7 of 14. Hurts also went over 10.5 rushing attempts in 6 of 9 games pre-injury that were close games, so decided by 14 or fewer points here. Considering that I think it's going to be a close game, and there's no game after this for him to leave it all out there concerning that shoulder, I think that's going to lead to more runs. Not to mention this Chiefs defense with Frank Clark, Chris Jones, George Karlaftis, Nick Bolton. One of them is eventually going to get to the passer here, and I think it's going to allow Jalen Hurts to run a lot more in this game.
AB sharp or square?
Yeah, I absolutely love that. I absolutely love that play for a lot of the reasons that you just mentioned. First off, you went through those numbers of when he was close but, say, didn't hit that one, like, of the recent games. Well, the reason they didn't was because you got to keep him healthy through the playoffs. Like you said, there's no game after this. Like, it's all in, right? And Jalen Hurts is definitely like that. Number 2, I think where you're gonna steal a couple rush attempts is in the red zone. I think that they're going to use him, especially if it's a tight game and you don't want to risk things, right? Like, you're going to steal 2, 3, 4 rush attempts there. He might not score a touchdown. He might, who knows? But you're going to steal a couple, which is exactly what you want. So, dude, I couldn't agree more on that one. That's a very, very good play. Yeah.
All right, third pick here. Going with Isaiah Pacheco, sticking with the Chiefs. Going to say he goes over 10.5 rush attempts, and this one's really simple. He's gone over 10 attempts in 8 of the last 10. He's been the guy for the Chiefs running the ball recently, and he's become that workhorse. I think if they, the Chiefs, what we were talking about earlier, AB, this is a game that the pace is going to be very fascinating. The Chiefs, in a rare spot here, are going to be the team actually maybe trying to slow things down a little bit, which is not what they've been used to with Patrick Mahomes at the helm. But given the way that the Eagles can strike early and often and over and over and over very quickly if you're not careful, they may want to try to dictate the terms early, maybe giving Pacheco a number of handoffs, especially in that first half, trying to slow things down and feature him a lot, particularly with their quarterback not nearly as mobile as they're used to him being. What do you think, sharp or square?
Yep, sharp. Look, because you're right, Patrick Mahomes is he's good. He's gonna roll out, be mobile outside of the pocket to pass. He's not gonna run, right? And I'm with you on Pacheco. You look at the depth chart here. I mean, Clyde Edwards-Helaire might as well be gone. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
Pacheco's the dude, and Pacheco runs hard as hell. You could trust him. Yeah, absolutely on that one. And I'll say this to give a local Tennessee feel of what you just said. The Chiefs absolutely will use their offense to keep the Eagles' offense off the field in a way. Go back and look at the Florida game against Tennessee. I think Kansas City uses a very similar approach of, you know what, we're going to run the ball. We're going to keep it away from you. We're not afraid to punt. All right, we're not afraid to punt because we can play with you a little bit too. Sure. That being said, we're going to run the football and control it. So, yeah, a sharp play as well. Yeah.
JT.
Our fourth pick here in the Super Bowl pick 6, I'm going to go with Dallas Goedert over 4.5 receptions. Now, this is one I've seen go both ways amongst a lot of people on Twitter and just around the betting community. But I think if there's anyone who's going to get close to hitting that reception limit there, it's got to be Dallas Goedert. He is Jalen Hurts' security blanket. He's gotten 5 targets or more in 4 of his last 5. The only game that he didn't eclipse that in was his first game back after coming back with that shoulder injury. And he caught 5 balls in 3 of those 5 games. The first game back, of course, he didn't. And also with Minshew, the Chiefs are really good against tight ends, but Goddard has found a way to produce in these playoffs. And before that, regardless, I think if Jalen Hurts needs to throw the ball to someone in a quick spot, he's going to look Goddard's way.
So, okay, I'm not disagreeing, but I'm not all in on it, and let me tell you why. Again, I'm not against it because
this is going to suck if you agreed with everything we said, AB. So
that's what I was going to say, right? First off, you don't want anybody coming out doing that. But again, not negative or down on the
maybe
play.
It's just a coin flip bet.
Well, and the reason being is this. One, what happens if the Eagles do the exact same thing? What if they come out and just start blowing the Chiefs out? I'm not saying it's going to happen.
True.
It could. And then you see a second half to where no one's getting it. Number 2, if the Eagles do play from a positive game script, playing from ahead in this game, passing totals for Jalen Hurts will go down, right? Yes. And couple that with the fact that there's just so many mouths that could be fed. A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, Quez Watkins, right? Again, it's not a negative on that play. It's a negative on how does this game go?
Yep.
And you could find yourself in risk spots. So that's why I say it.
So what I'm hearing here is if you're rolling with us on this bet, you got to hope that this stays tight.
Yeah. Yes. Because I think that, volume passing prop wise for the Eagles, it might be better for quick strikes, right? Mm-hmm. Longest reception, longest pass. Mm-hmm. Those are generally a little bit more safe with them. As on the other side, the Chiefs could throw the ball almost 50 times in this game. And that might be your volume play. So,
all right, I've got the 5th pick here. Our 5th pick of this pick 6 playoff Super Bowl edition. That is, it's Kadarius Toney. He has been a pariah. He's been an outlier for this Chiefs team, and really, from a betting standpoint, kind of impossible to pin down. Yeah. But we're gonna go out on a limb here.
Giants fans will agree with you. Yeah.
I'm sure. We're gonna say he goes under 15.5 as his longest reception. He's gonna be back for this game, but I'm really just expecting him to be the least involved of the 3 major receivers. There's a lot of injury questions for really the entire receiving room in Kansas City, but he's averaging 10.7 yards per catch with Kansas City. I don't necessarily see him as the deep threat in this game. He's really AB. He's a yards after catch guy. So if we get screwed on this one, it's probably going to be some linebacker on him that just blows it and he blows by him for 20 yards. But I feel like, and with Kadarius Toney, the built-in security you have on any Kadarius Toney under ever is the fact that he's liable to, on any play on the field, get hurt and not return to the game.
Yeah. You know what? That's a great point. So, all right, sharp play. I agree with it.
Okay.
And especially this, like what you said, his receptions are generally, closer to the line of scrimmage and a yak guy. The Eagles corners are legit. Like,
Yes.
they're like, it's going to be tough to get him the ball, even if, Kelsey's running, splits across the middle, right? Crossers and stuff to get him open. Like, they could jump it and pick six you quick. Like, I honestly, I agree. I think the Chiefs would probably look elsewhere, for their longer. So yeah, I agree. It's a sharp play. Yeah.
Awesome. JT, last one.
Yeah, our last one here, the guy who we think is going to be that deep threat here for the Chiefs, it has to be MVS. We're going to go with his receptions total over 2.5. With Mecole Hardman actually out for this game, they finally put him on IR.
Is he officially out now?
Yeah, so he will not be playing in this game. Brutal. He's on IR. I expect this to be a similar situation to the Cincinnati game in which he went 6 for 8 for 116 yards. He is going to be that deep threat that Mahomes looks to. I expect him to be someone Mahomes relies on here, especially with injury concerns with Juju Smith-Schuster. Give me the receptions over here.
Yep, completely agree. If you're going to go volume-based, especially at a low, like attainable number like that, 100%. And yeah, obviously Travis Kelce is going to get a ton of, coverage around him, right? I mean, obviously. And I think that, a correlated play with this, which I agree as well, is going with MVS, like riding him and fading Juju. Like, I think that you were spot on with your analysis right there completely. And especially at 2.5. Yeah, man. Like, Patrick Mahomes, I think his pass number set at like 38.5. Like, I think it could be 44, 45 in terms of attempts, right?
Yeah,
I really do.
Especially if they're down early. Yeah.
Look, I mean, that's what the Eagles do to you. Like, they change the way that you have to play. Right. So, yeah, especially at 2.5. Yeah, man, I like that.
All right, AB, that's what we're rolling with this week. Now we want to hear from you. Is there anything side, total, prop, novelty bet that you're rocking with this week?
Yeah, I'll tell you what. Let me give you mine and you guys break it down, right? Like, you tell me.
Yeah. We this is like the guys on Wall Street bets critiquing people on actually on Wall Street. But we'll do our best here. So let's hear what you got.
I love it. All right, so first one. Eagles first half team total over 12.5. We just mentioned earlier.
Yep.
The Eagles 19 games, 16 of them they scored 14 plus points or more. Look, that's just how they are. Like when you get to the Super Bowl, you don't change. It's kind of like who brought you to the dance.
Yep.
Right now, you look at Super Bowls historically, the first 6 minutes generally not a lot of scoring, but then again doesn't mean that has to happen every time. Like the Eagles look to choke you out. So yeah, that's my first one. Yeah, first half team total over 12.5.
Love it. No, I love that. I mean, it's everything we've talked about this whole time is if they're going to get out to a lead, it's going to be in that first half because they've done it all year long.
Yep. All right. Next one.
Yeah.
Chiefs,
what's up?
Chiefs second half team total over 12.5.
I see where you're going with this.
Like, I mean, that's who the Chiefs are. And even if the Chiefs like keep pace in the first half, like we're not saying they're a slow scoring team either, but they hit lulls in games. Like they get bored. You know what I mean? Like they kind of look like Kansas basketball at times. They just get bored.
Yeah,
right. So I'm going to roll them 12.5 over that. And here's the thing, when you getting, numbers and team totals. All right. So you look at, how points are scored in the NFL, 3s and 7s, right? So you think 2 touchdowns, 14 points. All right. Getting it under 13 as opposed to under 14 is so much more valuable because now you can afford a missed extra point if it happens. And, for the Chiefs side, touchdown, 2 field goals. Now the Eagles don't kick a lot of field goals. They'll go for 4th downs constantly, but getting 14, then you would need, a touchdown and 3 field goals. Like, it's not going to happen. You know what I mean? So, yeah, Chiefs over 12.5.
No, I love that. And that's a great point about key numbers. I mean, as well as we do. We talked about this a lot this year. The old school key numbers of 3 and 7 just don't mean as much as they used to in the NFL. The key numbers of 10, 9, like it's like any single digit number in there besides 4 and 5 are pretty important to different extents. And so getting it under that 13, not just under the 14, it's big. That's a good point.
Yeah, definitely, man. It's definitely changed for sure. And with teams that could go for 2, like both these are so aggressive, coach teams.
So aggressive.
Right, my next one here. All right. So like I said, I like your over, right?
Okay.
Like, I'm with you. I'm also playing both teams to score 20 plus points in the game.
Okay.
So now if somebody's out there and they're saying, look, I don't know about the over, I get it. I think we all do, right? Like it certainly. Now you could kind of play the over. You need obviously both teams to get to 20, but I think that they do. Like, even if you have a 23-21 game.
I mean, AB, I'll be shocked if either of these teams gets held into the teens. Like, it's not happening in this game.
They're both just too good. Like, you're looking at, the Eagles getting 3 touchdowns and the Chiefs getting 2 touchdowns, 2 field goals, right? Like, I mean, like, I'm not saying that it's easy, but it's like, that's all you need, to get this. And I think that they do. So, yeah.
No, I love that. And to me, it's like if both of these quarterbacks don't get hurt to the extent of the game, or there's not some massive piece somewhere.
I hope that, like, not to interrupt you. That is absolutely a worry with either of these quarterbacks. And if it happens, like, it's going to ruin the Super Bowl. Like,
it's going to suck. It's going to be like the NFC Championship game. I mean, that was ruined immediately. It really bothers me if both of these, I mean, I guess the better news is neither team is on their third stringer to begin with. So, like, it won't be the end of the world because, like, the Niners literally had nobody that could pass the ball. But, nobody's here for the Gardner Minshew, Chad Henne show. So, please, can we please get a full game from both of these guys? That's what we're hoping for.
100%. 100%. All right.
You got any more?
Oh, yeah.
Let's hear it.
I'll give 2 more. I could go for 6 hours. And
your 2 favorites you got left then. Let's hear it.
2 ones that I got left here. All right. So, Jalen Hurts, longest rush, over 13.5 yards. Okay. Everything, JT, that you laid out, I think Jalen Hurts is going to be a factor on the ground in this game. And, his rushing total, I believe, is 49.5, 50.5, like somewhere around there. And I don't necessarily hate that either, but I like your approach with Jalen. And I would say for anybody that might play the over on Jalen's rushing, look, he's probably going to have to break off at least one 15-yarder. Just play that. You know what I mean? Like, that. I think that's the easier way to go than him doing it, 8 times, right? Or what you had with Jalen. I thought that was an excellent approach in regards to that. So,
AB, this is perfect, and it's going to be kind of a whiplash for anybody that's been betting with us through the playoffs, because in the first 2 rounds, well, I guess the second and the third round, when we got to see the Eagles play, we had been riding hard on the Jalen under total rushing yards just because of the injury front. And also we expected him to, at least in that Giants game, we didn't think it'd be much of a competition. And in that one in particular, we were like, we just don't think he's going to run. And then against the Niners, it was, this defense is epic, and he's still hurt. He says it himself. He's not near 100%. But I think the script flips here. And I love both the bet JT laid out and the one that you have, in the sense that he is healthier. He's had 2 weeks to rest. So he's as healthy as he's going to get this season. And this is going to be the most competitive game for sure that they've had in the playoffs. There's no doubt about that in my mind. And the third point is there's nothing to say. Like, a big part of the handicap, the first 2 times we bet him, was this guy can't get hurt. Like, they expect to win the Super Bowl, so they can't lose him or get him any more hurt running the ball early on. But this is when you leave it all out there. So I think it's a great bet to say this guy who's tore the entire league up all year long with his legs, he's not going to stop doing that in the last game of the year.
Yeah. Completely agree.
All right, last one. What do we got?
Last one, okay? First punt in the game, will it be a fair catch? No. All right?
Okay. And
so we're going to get a little wild. I can't wait to hear it. A little wild with this one. Have fun. And let me explain why.
Okay.
So, historically, the first 6 minutes of the Super Bowl, a drought in terms of scoring, right?
Yep.
Like, you might have one that scores. You generally don't get both, like, on their opening drives. You got nerves, you got all this going on, whatever. That being said, I'm going to bank on that one of these 2 teams goes 3 and out. All right?
Okay.
Now, here's what you're essentially playing. All right? How far does the offense go that punts first? Because if they get to, like, the 50 or the 40, you get in danger zone here because they can punt, and, like, you just don't have a lot of space. I think the first punt comes with a team that goes 3 and out, right?
With a ton of space.
A ton. And you have 2 teams that they bring kickoffs out and they run punts. Like, they absolutely do it both sides. And
on top of that, this is the Super Bowl, man. How about those nerves?
100%. Same thing with, like, the opening kickoff, right? Like, it's the opening kickoff of the Super Bowl. I don't care if it's 109. It's coming out. Like,
whoever is returning the punt, do you think they, as a kid, were laying in bed envisioning themselves fielding the first kick of the playoffs, or the first kick of the Super Bowl, and they're waving their hand? No way, man! You're running that thing out for sure. For sure.
Yep.
No, I
Absolutely.
love this bet. That's fantastic. And of the 10,000 novelty bets you get with the Super Bowl, that one is awesome. I love that. I'm definitely going to put some money on that one. So let me recap all our bets here because I think we got a great slate. So our pick 6 for the show, we've got the over 51 points, Jalen Hurts over 10.5 rush attempts, Dallas Goedert over 4.5 receptions, Isaiah Pacheco over 10.5 rush attempts, Kadarius Toney under 15.5 for his longest reception, MVS over 2.5 receptions, and then courtesy of AB, 5 bonus bets here. We got the Eagles and the Chiefs both to go over 12.5 points team total. For the Eagles, it's the first half. For the Chiefs, it's the second. Then we've got both teams team total 20-plus points. Then Jalen Hurts over 13.5 yards for his longest rush. And finally, the first punt, not going to be a fair catch. AB, this has been fantastic. I say every single week that the Best Bet Gauntlet is my favorite segment of the week, but I can definitively say this has been my favorite segment of the year because this is a ton of fun and you're the best. Appreciate you being here so much. It's been a blast.
Dude, absolutely a blast, man. I sure do appreciate you guys having me back. And like, it's just, dude, fantastic to be with you. And I can't wait, dude, to watch these bets now, like during the game. You know what I mean? Like,
no, me too.
We can all like play it together, like on Twitter and, you know, wherever. Like, it's going to be fun for sure.
I can't wait. Guys, check him out. Allan Bell over at CBS Sports. He's everywhere. The Early Edge, Sportsline Picks, CBS Sports HQ, and the College Football Weekly Best Bets Show, as well as on Twitter. A fantastic follow. Allan, we're going to have you back much sooner than later. You're fantastic. Thank you for your time.
Hey, look forward to it, boys. Thank you so much.